All right. Hello and welcome everyone. I'm excited that you've taken the time to view this presentation ahead of our steering committee meeting. And I want to just kick off by saying thank you so much for taking the time to be a part of this process. It's really important that we have your participation and community members a part of this process so that our plan is community driven. So first and foremost, thank you for taking the time and thank you for putting your energy into this planning process. So I want to do a little background about why I have recorded or I'm going to record this presentation and that you'll view it before our steering committee meeting. So we have a lot of ground to cover as a steering committee and not a ton of time together. So we're going to be using our time together on more of the collaborative, participatory, decision-making types of pieces of the planning process, and leaving as much as we can of the informative pieces, so this background on sustainability type of presentation, to viewing before the meeting. So there might be a little bit of pre-work beforehand. I'm hoping there won't be too much, but that will just help us utilize our time together in the most effective manner. All right, so my goal today is for you, by the end of this presentation, to know what sustainability is, and particularly in the frame that we will be talking about it as a steering committee, why we're prioritizing it as a community, and where we're at today and where we're going. Oh, and I do want to say one other thing. If you have any questions or notes, comments, or things, if you're able to jot those down while you're watching this presentation, feel free to do so. You can either call or email me with questions after you're watching this presentation, or bring those to our steering committee meetings. I'm hoping that each week we'll have a little bit of time, probably not a ton of time, but a little bit of time to go over some questions, because it's likely that other people have similar questions too. So feel free to jot those down and bring those, or call me up ahead of time. All right, to kick off, I want you to think about what you think about when you hear the word sustainability. So when I reached out to you about the steering committee and the sustainability master plan, or when you applied to be a part of this committee, what did you think about when you heard or read the word sustainability? So you can pause this and think a little bit, or maybe you already know what comes to mind. But when you're ready to begin again, a lot of times people think about sustainability, well, they think about it in a number of ways. So it can really relate to anything you're talking about. So people think about it in terms of their work. So if they're working really hard on a project, maybe they're thinking to themselves, okay, this is not sustainable, meaning this can't really be continued at the pace I'm working at. Or maybe they're thinking about sustainability with health practices or certain types of behaviors. Maybe they're thinking about they're getting enough sleep at night, and that is certainly sustainable over the long term for their health and well-being. Or maybe they're not getting a lot of sleep and thinking about that practice not being sustainable over the long term. So it really, a lot of people think about it with this ability to continue, ability to endure, maybe not overextending yourself in some ways when it's applied to you personally. And it's really important for us as we're beginning this process to come to a shared understanding of sustainability in our context of work, because it can apply to so many different areas of life or work or play. And so one of the common definitions within the frame of what we're going to be working on comes from the UN, and it's decades old. And sustainability in this definition means meeting the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. And what I really like about this definition is I think it captures these two core concepts about sustainability that we maybe heard or you maybe thought about when you were thinking about sustainability for yourself or your work or whatever. And that is those concepts of the present and the future. So when we're talking about sustainability, we're thinking about living quality lives now, in the current, in the present. but also making sure that we allow future generations to live quality lives too. So it's this combo of the present and the future um, that we want to be thinking about when we're thinking about sustainability. We also want to be thinking about these three pillars of sustainability. So a lot of times people think about environmental sustainability as really the core component or maybe the only component, but it really isn't the only piece of sustainability. Within sustainability, we also want to be thinking about the social and community context, and we also want to be thinking about the economic context as well. And I like this model. This is a model that has the overlapping circles of these three pillars. And it indicates the interrelatedness of these three aspects. So we have environmental health, economic vitality, social equity, and well-being. And what this model is indicating to us is that sustainability is really found in the overlapping triangle of all three circles. So it's indicating that we can't have sustainability without considering those three elements. And another model of sustainability that sort of helps us think about it in a different way still includes these three components of sustainability, but it's in a different type of model. This nested model really illustrates our dependence on a healthy environment to support social well-being and a strong economy. So it's this nested approach where environmental health is necessary to achieve those other two areas, social equity and well-being and economic vitality, sort of a strong economy. Um, and I like this model because it really indicates that we as a society are truly dependent on our environment for our community well-being and for a strong economy. So for example, having things like clean air and clean water, these basics to live, well, we need those in order to be healthy, in order to be able to go outside and play and enjoy time with our families and our neighbors. We also need resources, natural resources to provide goods or services, or in the delivery of services to have an economic vitality component. So in order to have an economy, we need goods and services, and those are reliant on resources, which again is the environment. So I like this model because it really does sort of frame the environment as the key piece, that foundational piece of the puzzle that will help us achieve these other areas. And another way of thinking about sustainability is that it's an approach rather than an end goal. So when we're thinking about sustainability, um, we do have goals with them. So maybe we have goals to clean up our water by um, with certain pollutants in there, or we have goals to have so many parks in neighborhoods and things like that. We do have goals, but those are within the sustainability framework. And the approach of sustainability is to just make sure the way that we live, work, and play doesn't jeopardize the health, the safety, the security, the economic opportunity, and the quality of life of us today and of our future generations. All right, so that was a little bit about what sustainability is. I know it was quick, but we will have more time to talk about it. Now we're to the why. So why is sustainability important? Why do we need to prioritize it? What's the point and who cares? Well, our prior slide sort of addresses that in one sense. So we want to make sure that we're living well today, that we have quality lives today, and that future generations do too. So that's, a case in point right there. But we also are up against some pressing issues in our time that other generations haven't been or weren't in the past. And it's why prioritizing sustainability is so essential for us in today's time. So we know that our climate is changing, and with that, we're expecting to see increased weather variability, increased variability in precipitation events, likely or heavier precipitation events, and flooding. We also know that temperatures will be rising. In our region, we'll be seeing hotter temperatures over the next coming decades. And so that's a pressing challenge that sustainability can help address. And not only are we seeing those climatic changes, but we're also a growing community, which is great in a lot of ways. We just want to make sure that we're doing it with sustainability in mind to make sure that the way we're using our land doesn't degrade our habitats or ecosystems. We are maintaining our green space. We're not necessarily sprawling really far out, but that we're growing as a community in a smart, sustainable fashion for now and into the future. So how would a sustainability approach help us address those types of challenges that we just saw on the previous slides? So first, a sustainability approach can help us build resilience to and prepare for climate impacts, like I talked about, like those hotter temperatures, weather variability, and flooding. It can also help protect our natural environment, which again helps us achieve an equitable community with well-being and public health and a vibrant local community. And a sustainability approach can also help us reduce our greenhouse gas emissions, which we know based on current science that we need to drastically cut over the next several decades in order to keep our social, economic, and environmental systems functioning in our community in Sioux Falls. So those prior couple of slides were really focused on sustainability as a tool to help solve problems, which is great. It's an amazing reason why we want to prioritize sustainability. But another cool aspect of sustainability is that it provides benefits above and beyond solving these pressing challenges. It sort of provides this win-win approach to how we are planning for the future. So one of those is that it helps us save money as a community and as a city government. So one of the initiatives and programs that we've been working on in the past couple of years is switching out our old streetlights, which are high pressure sodium streetlights seen here, to LED streetlights. And you can see by this picture the real drastic difference in visibility and in lighting. So there is a really big difference to the LEDs. This is a process that is taking some time because it does cost a certain amount of money to do the switch out, but it does lead to significant cost savings in the long term. 22% of our streetlights have been replaced as of 2019. And in 2019, that had led to a savings, an energy savings of $150,000, which is 22% of our streetlights replaced. In the next 8 to 10 years, we are likely going to be switching out, not we're likely, but likely in the next 8 to 10 years, we will be switching out all of our streetlights in the city. And that will lead to an energy savings of about $600,000 a year in today's dollars. So that is really significant. That energy efficiency and that higher tech light bulb is leading to those cost savings that can go toward other programs or elements for community benefit. It creates jobs. Sustainability approaches help create jobs. So when we're thinking about the green economy and clean energy, maybe renewable energy, energy efficiency, thinking about waste reduction or greenhouse gas reduction, there are a lot of jobs being created right now in this green economy. And the projections are that that will just continue to be happening in the next coming decades. So the two occupations, interestingly, that the US Bureau of Labor Statistics projects to have the fastest employment growth from 2016 to 2026 are solar panel installers and wind turbine service technicians. This is really incredible because not only is that happening today, but that will be projected over the long term as we switch technology and innovate toward clean energy. We will be creating more jobs, which is really great for our community and our country. Another benefit, cleaner air and cleaner water. So as we're thinking about moving toward sustainability types of programs. Maybe we have more transit, maybe we're moving toward electric vehicles, maybe we're prioritizing cleaning up our river. All of these things lead to cleaner air and water, which is a huge benefit. We all value in our state and in our community, we all value our Big Sioux River. We all value clean air. And so doing these types of practices help prioritize that. Cleaner air and water also improves health. We know that having dirty air leads to respiratory issues, and we know that with climate change in the coming decades, there's an expectation or a projection rather that there will be issues around respiratory disease and additional asthma cases because the concentrations of ground level ozone or fine particles and dust will be contributing to more respiratory challenges. And so cleaning up our air helps improve health. When we walk outside, when we have clean air, we're able to run and play, and that's a huge community benefit. Another benefit is safer homes. As we move toward the electrification of our power and away from maybe natural gas and fossil fuels and things like that, we see safer homes because we have a less potential for fires and for other health risks like natural gas poisoning. So having solar panels or electrification leads to our safer homes and safer buildings. And along those lines, having solar panels on our houses, having maybe a community solar array, or just moving toward microgrids and electrification helps with our independence and security. So it makes us less dependent on foreign fuels. It makes us less dependent on or less reactive to if there are power outages and things. Helps us be more self-reliant and self-sufficient in case of natural disasters or other disruptions. And then greater well-being, a huge benefit to prioritizing sustainability. We know that having more nature in our urban life has really profound benefits. We know that the research indicates that access to nature improves our physical and mental health, helps with recreation, gives us recreation opportunities. It helps with community cohesion because having these natural spaces and nature provide more places for people to congregate and to meet. You see neighbors at parks together or families having a picnic and things like that. So it provides community cohesion, a sense of place. When we feel attached to more nature in our community, we really feel that sense of place, which is helps build a strong community. And it also helps with equity when we're prioritizing nature and natural elements in a community, like, for example, trees. We want to make sure that trees are going to communities who maybe don't have as much shade, and that helps build an equitable neighborhood as well. So a lot of benefits to sustainability practices and to taking a sustainability approach to our planning processes in our city and in our community. And the last thing I want to talk about in this why section, why sustainability is important, is why we're doing it as a city. And for that, it's really thinking about what our role is as a city. So one of our city government's role is to protect our residents, keep them safe, prioritize health. And by prioritizing sustainability, we are making sure that we are prioritizing those things. We as a city are the first line of defense against any sort of impacts that we would feel locally. When there's flooding, we as a city are the first go-to for citizens who need help, for residents who need help. And we know the things that our community needs. We know our community best, and we have the capacity and the knowledge more than maybe the state or the federal government or maybe other organizations to be working on these issues. So cities have not only staff, but they have land, they have financial resources, and they have policy levers that they can use when we're thinking about a sustainable community now and in the future. And so that's one of the reasons behind us leading this charge. All right, so where we're at and where we're going. So we have been working on sustainability as a city for over 10 years. In 2009, the Sioux Falls Leading Green program was created. And that mission was developed, the mission of working together, we will promote a vibrant community through the innovative and wise use of our resources. And that's the mission that we still use today. In 2012, the first Sustainability Master Plan was created. And in that plan served as a guiding roadmap for what kinds of initiatives and programs we were doing. So it had some goals and specific activities that we wanted to be addressing. That master plan also developed 6 focus areas for our sustainability work, including waste minimization, water resources, energy, transportation, community vitality, and the built and natural environment. And interestingly, or to note, waste minimization and water resources have been 2 of the areas where we've worked pretty extensively in the past few years. So a couple examples of the types of things that we're doing as a sustainability program. We do a lot of outreach and engagement, workshops, presentations with the community. Of course, this was prior to COVID. But this is a community activity at our libraries where we were helping kids and their parents learn about recycling. And this was actually part of our recycling campaign that we've kicked off in the past couple years. And it's called It's Easy to Make an Impact. And that's another priority that we've had the past couple of years. That's been focusing on minimizing our waste, increasing our recycling, increasing recycling rates, and building awareness of recycling and waste reduction in our community. Another initiative, or another sort of bucket of initiatives, is around water and water quality, so how clean or dirty the water is, and water quantity, so thinking about conservation. So this picture is illustrating our stormwater inlet art project. I believe that's the title. It's kind of a mouthful. And this is a storm drain that this young lady has painted. The storm water, the rainwater that falls onto the street that goes down here, goes directly into the Big Sioux River with little to no treatment. And so this program helps bring awareness and attention to that in our downtown community. So what artists do is they submit designs to paint stormwater inlets each year. And we select about 6 to 7 of those who get to paint an inlet. And it's just a really cool way to bring in art, which is already a big part of downtown Sioux Falls, and art and sustainability together. Another initiative we do is our landfill gas to energy project. So you can see at the top of this hill, you can't see where I'm pointing, but at the top of the hill, you can see the well heads, and those are connected to some pipes underneath. This hill is a covered up prior landfill. So underneath there is waste from our community. And so the pipes collect the landfill gas that's created as organic material, and that waste decomposes. And so it captures that gas and pipes it to to a poet in Chancellor who uses it for energy. And so what's great about this is that it prevents a lot of tons of methane gas from being directly released into the atmosphere. So in 2019, our gas to energy program prevented 8,000 tons of methane emissions emitted on site at our landfill. So that is a great program that we're continuing. And as long as we have a landfill, it's a really great program that the city is doing for sustainability. Now, I can't go into all of the things that we're doing as a city, but I do encourage you to take a look at this document, our 2020 Sustainability Assessment that we put together in the spring of 2020. This really captures by department and by division of the city government what programs and projects we've been doing and we have done that are considered along the lines of sustainability. So I encourage you to take a look at that. And not only does it have that information, but it also it charts out our 2012 sustainability goals and shows if we've achieved those, if we were off track, if we kind of paused on them, so you can see where we are at compared to previous goals, and that kind of builds the case for where we're going. Which brings me to my next slide. So that's where we have come and where we are right now, and here's where we're going. So this is why we're here today and why we're here for the next year together. Our Sustainability Master Plan was done in 2012, so it's a decade old, almost a decade old. And so our first big step is to be updating this plan. That's why I reached out to you. That's why you're a part of the steering committee. And it's important to be updating this plan because, like I said, it's almost a decade old. Our community needs have changed since then. Our community makeup has changed since then. And so we want to make sure that our plan is capturing not only the vision of where we want to go as a community, but also the most up-to-date strategies and actions that will help us reach those goals. All right, almost done with the presentation. I think I'm going to stick to around a half hour, so that's great. So our Sustainability Master Plan, this is where we'll be diving in together. I like to think of this plan as this guiding path for a sustainable present and future. And it's the guiding path for making sure our environment is healthy, for making sure we're building a strong local economy and a vibrant, equitable community, for making sure that we're reducing our greenhouse gas emissions, for bringing us on a path to do that with specific strategies and activities, and a path to build resilience as a community. So if this can this frame of mind you can kind of bring into our first meeting, that is great. This is just a very broad scope of our master plan, of where we're going as a city and community in relation to sustainability. And then we'll jump off in our steering committee meeting, our first one, at the beginning of this planning process. So I encourage you to, again, if you're not driving or if you have the possibility to do so, jot down any notes, anything that comes up, questions, comments, concerns about this process or about what I've talked about. Would love to talk more about that with you. And really just want to indicate my heartfelt gratitude to you for being a part of this process, for making it through this presentation prior to our kickoff meeting, and for being a part of this process, which has really important work for us today as a community and where we're going as a future community. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I appreciate all that you're doing, and I look forward to working with you and meeting you at our kickoff meeting.